Welcome everybody to a second episode of... Does this game still hold up? Does this hold up in 2025? Is it still good to play?
Is that what we're calling this series now?
I don't know. I mean, something like that. But so in today's episode, David and myself are going to be going through what we're going to be doing for the next few weeks is exploring the Ezio trilogy of the Assassin's Creed series. Last week, we checked out the first Assassin's Creed game, and we are now naturally moving along to Assassin's Creed 2. So, both David and myself have played it individually for a few hours, and we just wanted to talk about this game and find out ultimately whether this game still holds up today. So David, Assassin's Creed 2 is widely regarded as the game that turned the series into a blockbuster, fixing many of Assassin's Creed 1's problems and introducing a new fan-favorite protagonist, Ezio Auditore da Firenze. Oh, it's me, Ezio. So let's talk about, what are some of your thoughts? Tell me what you think about the story of Assassin's Creed.
Wow, this game, I honestly believe if this game wasn't released and how brilliantly developed and beautiful it is, I don't think Assassin's Creed will still exist today.
No, of course not. I don't think so either.
What can you say that hasn't already been said? Assassin's Creed 2 is literally what a sequel should strive to be. Every time you have that conversation when there's a trilogy of games or there'll be multiple game series, there's always that conversation with people going, yeah, the sequels were good, but the first one was better. For this series, I can confidently say that Assassin's Creed 2 blew Assassin's Creed 1 out of the water. We had a beautiful setting in Renaissance Italy, an amazing character that is likable, the protagonist, which is Ezio,
which is a nice change of pace from last week.
Which is a nice change of pace with American Altair. That's just a one-note character.
Hey guys, I'm an assassin.
I must stab you now. Assassin's Creed 2 monumentally steps ahead of the first game. Ezio is such a likable protagonist, an amazing protagonist. We get to see more of obviously the modern day story with Desmond. The story is much more engaging. You actually feel like you have a personal stake in it instead of like, oh, you have to kill these 9 targets to redeem yourself. The gameplay parkour elements are much more improved, especially with the combat, the way you blend in with the crowd, the notoriety system, the monetary system. Everything is a step above Assassin's Creed 1 in an amazing, great way.
One thing that's really interesting is, I was kind of only just thinking about it then, Assassin's Creed 1 is kind of like a non-linear game. At certain points in the game, you could have multiple different targets at once, which you can kind of go to whichever city you want at any given time, whereas this game is a lot more linear, but I think that it also has other activities where it promotes the exploration. So it's obviously not an open world, it does follow the same kind of format as the previous game where it's got different cities that you can access. It's got Venice, Florence, Tuscany, a couple of other ones that I don't want to try and pronounce because I know I'll butcher them. But the thing that I really like is that...
Rome as well.
Not in this one. Oh, well, I guess technically the ending, but...
Endgame, yeah.
Yeah. The thing that I do like is that the story begins literally from his birth, but they make such a conscious effort of making you give a shit about who Ezio is, and he's charming. He's a dickhead, honestly, at the start. But he's ultimately quite innocent, and this family tragedy...
And cocky.
Yeah, and cocky, but this family tragedy strikes and he has to just suddenly be thrust into like, fuck, okay, I gotta look after my mom and my sister. And, it's this revenge-driven narrative, so it's got more personal stakes, and it's much more emotional compared to Altair's, his colder arc, and I just really appreciated that. What do you think of this game introducing historical figures like Leonardo da Vinci?
I was literally about to delve into how interesting the characters were.
Yeah, we'll go for it.
Italy, or the Renaissance Italy, is such a beautiful backdrop. It's such a beautiful era to explore a historic video game like Assassin's Creed, and seeing the interaction or seeing the interesting historical figures, like an example, Leonardo DiCaprio, and seeing Ezio's relationship evolve.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Da Vinci. I said Da Vinci, edit that out. Leonardo da Vinci,
him and his really dodgy South African accent from Blood Diamonds. It's like,
Blood Diamonds.
He's like giving you, he's like, it's your A, or whatever. Anyway.
It's a dream, all in the dream. Seeing historical figures like Leonardo da Vinci and actually having a personal relationship with him is so cool.
Good.
It's
so cool.
Like when I first played this when I was a teenager, it blew my mind because I'm like, oh my god, that is Da Vinci. And you get to try out all his not his wacky experiments, but his cool inventions like the flying bird or the flying prop.
Basically a plane.
Basically a plane, as well as he upgrades your weapons, like making him a person that increases your weaponry and your tools is such a clever idea to introduce him into the story.
Let's kind of move towards the gameplay then for a moment, because I think everyone knows how good the story is, and I think to move it towards like mission structure or even just one thing I love is that even though they mixed it up a little bit with the story and how it is linear but delivering a much more personal level story that really hooks you in with these characters, but man, they really did just refine the gameplay so much more. Everything just feels so much better. And do you have any thoughts on how the gameplay feels in this game?
Yeah, I 100% agree with what your take is. It feels much more refined. It makes sense more gameplay wise, especially because you're following Ezio as a young man in this story into his, I would say, his early 40s. When you obviously first start out after the tragedy, he's not as refined as is a late game. And as a gameplay sense, it makes so much sense because you're watching him, you are growing alongside with him when he gets older and learns these new techniques. The parkour is amazing. Italy at that time, it made perfect sense to have that sort of gameplay mechanic where the climb was much more simplified, much more of a smooth experience. Because I felt like when you played AC1, it felt like sometimes Altair didn't listen to what the controller was doing.
No, not at all.
I'm like, jump here, and for some reason he
like,
jumps
into diagonally and into the water, which
diagonally,
can't swim
and then he dies because he can't swim. He does win. In this game, you can swim. And especially with the mission structure, it's completely different. One of the missions, or one of the targets that sticks out to my mind is when you're doing the Renaissance Fair and you have to win 3 different challenges to get the gold mask. And then once you get the gold mask, you can then enter the area where your target is.
Yeah, really, really
and
cool.
really outside the box from
just creative.
Creative what we saw from Assassin's Creed 1, which just shows the step above of how Ubisoft actually wanted to make this a sequel that is remembered by gamers fondly. Combat was completely redefined. The double hidden blades, that was just
so good.
That was just such an amazing idea, which will become a staple for the series. Instead of killing one target, you could just kill 2 at the same time.
One thing I like as well is that there's also like an economy system where you can go to the tailor, go to the blacksmith, you can upgrade your equipment so that way you are stronger, you hit harder, and obviously just customizing your look. I think that's really cool. They introduced it in this game with Montier Journey, where you're kind of, however you pronounce it, where you're kind
of me, Mario.
It's your I was going to use that later for my Easter egg section of the video. But anyway, so with that town, you've got this whole Reno situation where, you're putting your money and investing it into the town to boom the economy again. And I love that system, but I love it even more in the next game, and I can't wait until we talk about it next week.
Oh, yeah.
Minor thing. I love that you can activate your eagle vision and you can actually move around now. You couldn't move around and have eagle vision in the previous one. So there's little quality of life refinements like that, which just make it so much better.
I was going to say, even the blend mechanics are much more refined in this. Instead of obviously trying to find a group of priests to blend in with or trying to find a bench, it felt more natural where there was a huge crowd of people. You could just just walk into it and blend in with anyone.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
To hide from the guards.
Or you can throw vice money.
Versa, you can throw money.
Yeah.
You could hire ladies of the night to distract guards.
Yeah.
You can hire mercenary to go fight the guards. Just like small stuff like that just opens up the different ways you can tackle missions, essentially.
Looking back at this, because obviously this video is just fucking glazing AC2, but it's kind of hard, hey? Like, this game did such a good job at improving everything in Assassin's Creed 1, where it's like, if you improve this much in one game, it's kind of hard to keep topping it. Like, it is. They really set a high bar for themselves, and I don't know, I just think they did really well with the protagonists, they did well with the story, they did well with the gameplay and quality of life improvements. Yeah, I just think it's awesome.
I think as well with the story, and massive compliment to the story, it didn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game story. It felt like a story of vengeance and a story of like self-discovery for this one character that, to be honest, a lot of people consider him to be one of the best protagonists of all time.
Yeah, I agree.
It blends so well with the modern story because the reason why you're following this protagonist is because they're training Desmond to become an assassin.
Oh my god, I'm so glad you said that because I wanted to segue into the modern day story.
Which is on the modern day story, because it makes so much sense that with the bleeding effect, we can make Desmond to assassin. However, we need to go to the start of this young man's journey to where he ends up being.
Yeah.
And it's such a 9-day difference because I remember in the modern day story when you try to escape Abstergo, they're like, fight him off, Desmond. Desmond has no idea how to fight.
Yeah, he's like just trying to king hit them.
King hit them. And then when you get to the end game where you have to escape the hideout and you obviously fight them again, it's just 9-day difference.
Yeah, I agree. Well, yeah, let's just talk about the modern day story because I think that idea of like, all right, we've got to quickly train you up because we're on the run from Abstergo.
Yeah.
Like, everything is just kicked up into high gear. Lucy finally has a missing finger, thank God. Everything with Desmond in this game feels better. It feels cooler. It feels more interactive, and they progressively give him more and more to do until they, kill him off eventually. But one thing that I do really like, despite the fact that the modern day sections do still feel a little bit undercooked or underdeveloped, because naturally the star of the show is Ezio. One thing I love is that they introduce these glyphs. And they incorporate these puzzles in Ezio's Renaissance world, where he might, with his eagle vision, see these glitches which the Animus has put into, Subject 16 has put into this world. They made Subject 16 a more prominent feature. And the thing that I love about that is that when I was young, because this was the first Assassin's Creed that I played, this shit used to creep me out, like playing late at night and then trying to solve these puzzles. And it felt like, oh my God, I'm like listening to some conspiracy stuff. It really introduced this new element, and it was kind of freaky and it's a little bit like, oh my God, I really got to uncover the truth. And I just think it was really cool.
Are those the Epstein files?
Yeah. If you get all 16 glyphs, you'll get the Epstein files. But that original Templars versus Assassins story was really, it was obviously present from the start with Assassin's Creed 1, but you didn't really feel the modern day fight, where I feel like you really do feel that in this game. That connective tissue between the Animus is our way of looking into the past through the eyes of the present, but I feel like the glyphs and trying to solve these problems where you're trying to do that while in the past. And I don't know, I just thought that was just a really nice touch. And it added this element where it was like this constant reminder in the background that, yes, we are playing through the eyes of Ezio, but there is a bigger story at play here.
Exactly.
And I kind of want to use this as a segue to talk about the end of this game.
I was literally wanted to just talk about how the climax of this is just... It is so iconic.
I genuinely think this is one of the best, if not the best, endings to a video game that I have ever personally experienced.
Wow, okay. Well, first of all, you fight the Pope in the Vatican City.
You just beat
You're being the holy man. Yeah, you just literally no more weapons, no more tools, just fisticuffs.
Yeah, you're fucking Dominic Toretto versus Jason Statham in Fast and Furious 7.
The thing about the streets. The street always wins.
It's like... I think what's
so satisfying to beat the shit out of them.
So satisfying, but what's amazing is what happens next. Do you want to walk us through?
Ezio, obviously within the Vatican City and with the Piece of Eden, they unlock a room that's from the first civilization, and Ezio comes face to face with, I think it's Nervona, or is it Juno?
I think it's Juno. It's either Juno or Minerva. It's Juno. But I think it is Juno.
Where she goes on a tangent or discusses obviously about the first civilization and what happened to them.
Kind of like here is our warning, and this is what happened.
Here's our warning.
Our civilization. This is what happened before, kind of thing. But there was just something a little bit off about it. Like it didn't quite feel like a pre-recording, if that makes sense.
No, it didn't feel like a pre-recording. And the more she spoke, I remember when I first experienced it, the more creeped out and eerily I felt about this message. And it's not till the end where I'm pretty sure Ezio goes, I don't understand. And Juno goes, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking through you.
Yeah, and then she and
I was like,
turns to the camera.
Shit.
And I was playing this at night, dude, like in the dark, and she like turns and looks straight, at you.
Into the camera.
And then she's like, I'm talking to you, Desmond. And then it's just like, what the fuck? And then like even like the Desmond and Lucy and all that, they're like, what the fuck? And then like it just rolls credits. I was like, holy shit, dude, that's insane.
I remember I was like, what did I just witness? I was very confused and so intrigued. I'm just like, holy shite.
That's a really effective way of setting up that you're like, wow, there is something massive. It's
deeper
at play here. I want to find out more. I want to learn more about it. And it was honestly one of the biggest driving motivators for me for when playing later games. I'm like, man, I just want to play through this so I can find out more about this future story. And I think that with the Ezio trilogy, that's what they did so well and masterful with the modern day story. They really they dangled the carrot, but I was biting it, dude. I was chomping at the bit to follow it, man. It was so effective, and I just think it was really cool.
And I think that's something that's overlooked as well, and this is probably mostly due to historical accuracy about the person. After you beat up the Pope, he was the head of the snake, the reason why Ezio's family met that tragic demise. Ezio just leaves him.
I think that's annoying.
I honestly, I thought it was annoying, but the more I think it just shows how much his character has grown from when he was a young nobleman to where he became at the end, because he just beat him up and it goes, you know what? I just don't have it to kill you, and walks away from him.
I mean, I agree. I think that there's multiple ways you can look at it. Like, I think that that's one angle, sure, but I think that he is on this revenge quest and he's trying to, he gets his immediate revenge earlier on in the story, but he is trying to fight for the cause and get further and further. And with him not killing the Pope, it's just like, why wouldn't you? You're right there. You could just do it. And it would solve a lot of problems. But then again, we wouldn't have the next game the way it is. So I just think that it was kind of like that. But look, I reckon before we go to our verdict and talk about whether we think that this game still holds up or not in 2025, I wonder what our verdict will be.
What is it going to be?
I think it's my favorite time of the year, David. It's Easter egg time. So rather than going through trivia, I had a thought to myself today. I was like, you know what? Because we're covering games, why don't we go through Easter eggs in games rather than trivia? So is there an echo, Shane? Is there an echo in here? Because when you first meet Ezio's uncle Mario, he says, "It's-a me, Mario," which, if you didn't know, is a reference to Super Mario Bros. So that's the first Easter egg.
When I first heard that, I felt like Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh yeah, in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
He's like, points at it.
All right, so the second Easter egg that is noted here. So occasionally while free running or climbing a building, a male bystander can be heard saying, "Another capering crusader." And this is a reference to DC Comics superhero Batman, who uses stealth, has a tendency to run on rooftops, and is sometimes referred to as the Caped Crusader. Wow.
I never knew that.
Yeah,
that's so interesting.
That's so crazy. Am I right? Okay, so next up. So during the events of the Bonfire of the Vanities, which is in one of AC2's DLCs, if the player returns to the Palazzo Auditore, a vision of Ezio Auditore's entire family can be seen. So it's only just in this one point in the game. So after meeting up with Niccolo Machiavelli at the start of the sequence, the player can visit his palazzo at any time and step in the center of the courtyard, where Ezio will then enter into a state which is like similar to Eagle Vision, and will be able to see figures of his parents and siblings around the palazzo. So this vision can only happen once in the game. So I had no idea that that's a thing.
I had no idea.
And I guess you're going to have to try and capture that footage somehow. So
that's, in a way, it's very wholesome but very sad at the same time.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? When I read that, I was like, wow, that sucks. Like that. Hurts.
Yeah.
So, and for the last one, I feel like maybe you might have known about this, but a giant squid can be found within one of the assassin tombs, which is beneath the Santa Maria della Vistazione. If the player makes Ezio look into the water near the first lever for about 1 minute, cutscene will play showing a large squid swimming by. And if Ezio is made to look down again, a second cutscene will show a tentacle coming out of the water, nearly hitting Ezio. Wow, how crazy.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw that, I'm like, that is really crazy.
It's random as well.
But I did love doing those tomb challenges because, as you said before, very Prince of Persia-esque to get the plaque so you can get Ezio's, Altair's armor.
Yeah.
Which is the best armor in the game.
Which is weird because it's like, it's Altair's armor, but it looks nothing like Altair's outfit.
Yeah,
so I've never understood that, and like it was armor that he never wore. But anyway, the one thing I remember as a kid while playing this is that when looking in, trying to trigger the Easter egg, I'd try and progress through the rest of that little stage where you're trying to do all this platforming, and it's all on top of water. I always used to get freaked out about the idea of if I accidentally fell into the water because it's the same water as the squid. So, didn't take much to scare me, apparently. But yeah, so that's probably about it. So naturally, David, do you think that Assassin's Creed 2 still holds up in 2025?
100% it does. In 2025, it has aged very gracefully. It still looks amazing. The art design to direct is beautiful. The city backdrops are beautiful. The soundtracks is just top
Oh my god, I
tier.
didn't even know how we haven't even talked about the soundtrack yet.
Yeah,
I think it's
Ezio's family.
so good. So
iconic. So iconic. Even just walking around Florence, the first city, it's just,
it feels like a
so good.
living, breathing city. It's just really cool.
The gameplay is very smooth. The combat's very refined and tuned smooth, and it only got better after AC2.
Yeah.
So 100%, it is. If you haven't played it, highly recommend you go pick up the Ezio collection and play because it is a gem of a game.
I agree. I think it still holds up very well today. I don't think it's the best, but I do think that if you are going to start anywhere, if either you've only played the new Assassin's Creed games or you just haven't played them at all, if you're going to start anywhere, start with this one. Just completely skip Assassin's Creed 1. I had a Tesla blowout then. Completely skip Assassin's Creed 1. Obviously play it if you want. I don't know. I'm not your parent, but play Assassin's Creed 2. And if you agree with what we said today, or if you disagree with it holding up, I'll be very, very curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. But I think that's pretty much it. David, do you have any closing thoughts?
No clear thoughts. Thank you for joining us on this revisit down memory lane, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Next week, we're going to be looking at AC Brotherhood. I'm very, very excited to talk about this one because this one, spoiler, is probably, it's a toss-up between this and Revelations, I think, are my personal favorites, or the ones that I feel the most nostalgic about. So I'm very excited to talk to you next week about those. But in the meantime, I shall talk to you next week.
Same time again. Bye, guys.